of Honningsvåg was Honningsvåg, which is a Viking name, and means bay by the horned mountain. And on your left, you can see these horned mountains. Honningsvåg is a very small town. There are about 2,500 people here, but it's not a village. It's officially a town here in Norway, and it's the main town of this municipality, which is called North Cape Community, which has Honningsvåg as a main town and also 5 small villages located around the coast. And in this town there is a high school, a primary school and a middle school, a cinema, 2 supermarkets, different kind of shops. You can find also a small airport called Valan, but there is no hospital. The closest hospital is about 180 kilometers from here, so about 3 hours and a half from here. In a few moments, on your left, you're going to see some drying racks for the stockfish. Here they are. What is stockfish? Stockfish is dried caught fish, but in this case is dried haddock. The fish head is removed from the bodies, and both heads and bodies are hung on these racks. Then after 8 to 10 weeks, the codfish or the haddock is dried, so the stockfish is ready. And you can eat stockfish just like that in small pieces. It looks like chips, and you can buy it in supermarkets. But of course, there are also traditional recipes with stockfish. A very famous one here in Norway is lutefisk, which is also a Christmas dish in some areas of Norway. But the interesting thing is that you can find recipes with stockfish also in southern European countries, like in Italy and Spain and Portugal, because stockfish has been exported since the 13th century. Coming up on your left-hand side, you're going to see a supermarket, Rema 1000. But why am I talking about a supermarket? Because it is located exactly at 71 degrees north, which means we have just crossed the 71st parallel north. And normally there are no human settlements in areas around the 71st degree of latitude, such as Siberia or Alaska or Canada or Greenland. Rather, you might only find ice and snow. So here in Honningsvåg, we are in a very special place. And we are now leaving the town of Honningsvåg. As I mentioned, it is a small town, but it's the main town of the North Cape community. On your right, you can see a small fjord, which is called Skipsfjord, which means, guess what? Fjord of ships, exactly. It was used as an emergency harbor in the past, so especially in case of storm. So all the ships would come here to find shelter, and this is the reason why it was called Skipsfjord, fjord of ships. As you can imagine, fishing is a very important activity here in this area, and it has always been very important for the local economy. But working as a fisherman in the past used to be very, very dangerous because 20% of the fishermen used to die at sea, and this was completely normal at that time. But luckily, with all the modern navigation systems that we have nowadays, working as a fisherman has become much safer. And in the sea you can find not only codfish, of course, but also haddock, pollock, halibut, and many other fish. Although not a fish, but very important for the local economy, there are also king crabs, which are quite expensive but very, very tasty. Coming up on your right hand side, you're going to see a small beach. It's the only beach you can find here, and locals call it North Cape Copacabana. And as you can see, the resembles, it's outstanding, isn't it? And in the summer, when it's warm and sunny, so not very often, there are people coming to this beach to enjoy their time, and some of them, the brave ones, might even swim. But the sea is always very cold here. The warmest it gets in the summer is 10 degrees Celsius, which is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And on your right, there is a small island called Trollholmen. Holmen in Norwegian means small island. And this small island is actually a private island, and it is for sale. It's 2,500,000 Norwegian crowns, which are 250,000 euros. The tiny little problem is that there is no drinking water in the winter. So you would have to bring water from the supermarket every day or every week. And if you can't afford to buy an island, don't worry, because on your right, these houses, these blue and red houses, are there to be rent, both in the summer and in the winter. In a moment, you're going to see a big red building on your right. This is a hotel, a Scandic hotel, and it's open only in the summer. while on your left you're going to see a dam. This is the reservoir of drinking water for Honningsvåg. And again on your left in a few seconds you're also going to see the third fuds covered with grass, and this is where the Sami used to live in the past. These third fuds could be built with local construction materials, and they were sturdy against the storms and warm against the cold winter. And it's good for me to talk right now because later it's going to be very dark, so at least you see them. Well, this hotel on your right was originally built in Lillehammer for the 1994 Olympic Winter Games, but then the structure was transported from Lillehammer up here because in that area it became kind of useless, while here it has a purpose as a hotel. You can hear me? Is everything okay? Yeah. Yes, perfect. On your right hand side you will see another small fjord. This one is called Kamoy Fjord. And as you might know, we are not on the mainland, but we are on an island, and this island is called Mageröja, and the name Mageröja means Mager Island, so naked, barren island. And if you look out of your window, I think you can easily understand why it is called like that. But in the summer, there are more than 200 different kinds of plants growing on this island, and they are all small plants, like for example dandelion, bluebells, violets, marigold, daisies, and many not so well known mountain flowers. And you can also find many berries like blueberries and raspberries, and also cloudberries. I don't know if you've ever seen or tried cloudberries before. They look like raspberries, but they are orange, and they are typical of Scandinavia. And the jam, the cloudberry jam, is also very good. The liqueur is even better. I'm more than 18. Yeah, I'm 22, so don't worry. As you can see, there are no trees around here. There are no trees because we are in the tundra. And the tundra is the name of this landscape, and it's a Sami word that means treeless plain, so plain without trees. There is not enough soil for the trees to grow their roots here, here we are beyond the tree line, which is about 60 kilometers south from here. And as I said, tundra, it's a Sami word. But what is Sami? Sami are the indigenous population of northern Scandinavia, and they are described as peaceful people. Back in the days, they never produced weapons for war, but exclusively for hunting. And their original religion was a religion based on nature, and it believed that anything in nature had a soul. So water, stones, plants, and animals were therefore treated with the greatest respect. There are two groups of Sami, the coastal or sea Sami, which live by the coast and work as fishermen. And then there are the mountain Sami, which live further inland and are reindeer herders. The biggest group of Sami are the sea Sami, but they have been living here on the coast so close to the Norwegians that they have kind of lost their sea Sami culture. So most of them see themselves just as regular Norwegians and have regular jobs as well. The Sami speak both Norwegian and also the Sami language, which belongs to the Finnish-Ugric language group. But neither the Hungarians nor the Finns can understand this language because it's very different. And I don't know if you've ever heard of yoik. Yoik is the typical Sami music. And they are songs that speak of nature or speak of people. And they honor both nature and people's life and existence. But I can't sing it, so I'm not gonna give you any example. That would be rather painful to hear. And there are about 80,000 Sami in Scandinavia, 50,000 live in Norway, 20,000 live in Sweden, 10,000 live in Finland, and a few thousand Sami live in Russia. But they have not much contact with the other Sami. These red sticks that you see along the road are very useful in wintertime when there is a lot of snow. It can get so foggy and white that it might be hard to see the road. So therefore there are these red sticks along the roads, and they will be then removed at the end of the winter, which is normally April. Coming up on your right-hand side, you can see some wooden structures. These are snow fences, but they are very particular snow fences because they don't hold the snow, but they create a certain turbulence in the wind for it to drop any snow it carries. So in this way, less snow will come onto the road. Coming up on your left-hand side, you're going to see another fjord. This one is called Fjord, and it's the biggest and largest fjord of the island. And in the past, there used to be a whaling station here, where the whale fat was burned to produce oil, but this led to excessive hunting. There were almost no whales left here, around here, so this whaling station was closed, of course. And you can't really see it because it's a little bit foggy, but on the left you can also see the North Cape Horn, which was a holy place for the Sami, and also very important for navigation purposes. You can see it now again on your left, but then it will disappear. On your right, you can see some grayish stones, and this is dolomite. And it reminds me of home because I come from a small town in the north of Italy in the Dolomites. So I like to talk about it. There are some animals on this island. You can find otters, minks, mice, lemmings, weasels, and in the summer you can also see a lot of reindeer. But you're not going to find any big predator, like no wolves, no foxes, no bears. The biggest predator on this island are eagles. In a moment, on your right, you're going to see again the North Cape Horn. And on your left, you can see Tufjord again. In a few minutes, we will turn left to go to the North Cape, but if we went straight ahead on this road, we would arrive in a small village called Skarsvåg. Skarsvåg only has 45 inhabitants, but has a very interesting record because it is the northernmost ice-free harbor in the world, which means that the water in Skarsvåg, in the harbor of Skarsvåg, never freezes, unlike other harbors situated on this latitude, for instance in Alaska or Siberia or Canada or Greenland. In these places the water may freeze, but not in Skarsvåg. And this is because this is thanks to the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a stream of water that comes from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up here to Norway. And therefore the water along this island is much milder, and the fishermen can then work all year round since the water never freezes, it's never too cold. And the Gulf Stream is also one of the reasons for the abundance of fish in these waters. Because of the current of the Gulf Stream, volumes of cold and warm water meet, and this creates a lot of movement, which creates a lot of oxygen in the water, and the oxygen permits the development of plankton, which is fish food, and where there is a lot of fish food, there will be, of course, a lot of fish. On your right, you're going to see some buildings down there, and that is Skarsvåg. Here it is on your right. And in a moment, we will be driving through a Sami summer camp. Here some Sami families spend the summer on the houses on your right, And on your left, you can see a traditional Sami tent, which is called lavu. I'm going to tell you something about it on the way back. But why is there a Sami summer camp on this island? Well, because about 10% of the Sami are reindeer herders. So some Sami families come to this island in April with the reindeer and live in this summer camp. So during the summer there are many reindeer here, and at the end of the summer, usually at the end of September, the Sami will have to gather all the reindeer, and a certain number of reindeer are slaughtered. And then at the end of the summer, the Sami and the reindeer will leave again and go to the mainland, where they will spend the winter. They spend the winters further south in wooded areas that provide protection from storms. And in general, reindeer move north in the summer, where the days are longer and there is plenty of food. And the interesting thing is that reindeer actually swim to the mainland. So before the winter, they swim to the mainland. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube where you can see how they do it. Imagine a huge herd of reindeer, almost completely underwater, and the only thing you can see is their horns coming up from the water and moving very, very quickly. It's a very, very special event. Driving to the North Cape, but the North Cape hasn't always been called North Cape. It got this name in 1553, and it was a British captain called Richard Chancellor who named the North Cape like that. And this captain was on an expedition looking for the northeastern passage to China. And when he saw the North Cape cliff, he thought that this cliff could be very useful for navigation purposes. So that's why since 1553 we can find the North Cape with this exact name on all nautical charts. As you can see, for example, on your left, there are some lakes on this island that may freeze. This is because the Gulf Stream doesn't reach these waters. It only reaches the waters on the coast, of course. On your left, you can see two fjords again, and in a moment you will also see a group of islands which are called Gästresteppe, and they look like a pregnant woman laying on her back. Here it is, Gästresteppe. This group of islands is a nature reserve for seabirds. It's a nesting ground for many seabird species, like for example gannets, razorbills, puffins, cormorants, and seagulls. These birds all arrive in April, just like the reindeer. They nest over there, they lay their eggs, and at the end of the summer they leave again. So in the summer this island gets rather populated by birds and animals and reindeer and plants and flowers and berries and tourists, of course. So you should definitely come back in the summer to see all of this. about tourists, the first tourist was an Italian priest called Francesco Negri, and this priest wanted to see the end of the world. So he walked from Italy all the way up here, and his long journey lasted 2 years. He also had to learn how to ski to face the winter here, and he had to travel anonymously because he was a Catholic priest in Protestant countries. But finally, in 1664, he arrived at the North Cape, and he also wrote a book about his experience, and that was the very first book about the North Cape. What is there to see at the North Cape? Well, you will see a beautiful landscape of the Barents Sea, but you can also see the globe, which is the symbol of the North Cape, and there is also a building called the North Cape Hall, where you can find a souvenir shop and a cafe. And if you go downstairs on the floor -1, you will find toilets and a small exhibition about the North Cape and its history. And if you go on floor -3, you will find a cinema, a small cinema, where you can watch a short movie about the nature and the different seasons on this island. The movie only lasts 15 minutes, and I suggest you watch it because it is really, really beautiful. You don't have to pay extra money for it, it's for free. And you can find movie times at the reception at the very entrance. On your right, on that hill, on your left, on that hill, you can see a building that is a military place, NATO military base, with the radar. Outside the building, the North Cape Hall, on the left you're going to find a small monument because in 1863 the King Oscar II, which was the King of Norway and Sweden, came visiting the North Cape, and it was the very first time that a king came up here. So that's why there is a monument commemorating this event. And outside the building, outside the North Cape Hall, but on the right side, you're going to find some round sculptures. And this is an art installation called The Children of the Earth. And the globe, the symbol of the North Cape, is on the other side of the building. So to reach it, you can either walk through the building or go around it. And when you're standing at the North Cape in this very beautiful sunny day, you can, if you look north, you can imagine that after 2,000 kilometers, there is the North Pole. In a moment, on your left, you're going to see a peninsula called Nivsjalotten. And this peninsula has a tiny secret that I'm going to tell you on the way back. But I suggest you take pictures of it or you remember it, because yeah, it has a tiny secret. So it's worth having a memory of this peninsula on your left. We have arrived at the North Cape. Departure time from the North Cape is 1:20. Yes, 1:20. So 20 past 1. And you are on bus number 4 with Letizia. So departure time 1:20. Bus number 4 with Letizia. So on the left, you can see that tiny monument. This is the monument of the King Oscar II. And on your right, in a second, you're going to see, oh yeah, you see it already, the round sculptures. This is the art installation, The Children of the Earth. Perfect. Welcome to the North Cape. I wish you a beautiful visit.